everyone. Welcome to this episode of Claims Never Sleep. I'm your host, Megan Henry, joined by my co-host, Jen. Hey, Jen, good morning. Happy Friday.
It is a happy Friday. I love recording on Fridays, even though it is still morning and I feel like the day should be over.
I know. And there's so much day ahead. So much more to do today. But we have weekend ahead. Do you have anything exciting happening this weekend?
I have very exciting suburban mom plans to go to a bunch of different games, basketball, we have horseback riding, we have hockey, the normal weekend of a mom of 3 kids.
Yeah. So a big weekend spent in your car, schlepping people from point A to point B, buying food along the way.
Very exciting.
Yeah, I have a very similar arrangement and then an impromptu trip to New York City to celebrate a teenage friend's birthday, because I guess that's what we do now, is we travel to other cities. Like our city of Philadelphia is not exciting enough. Now we need to go to other cities. So that will be, it'll be fun. It'll be fun.
Well, we have an AAU tournament in Newark this weekend, and my daughter did want to go into New York City. That she asked if we can go to the tournament a day early so we can go shopping in Soho. So, I told her no, but maybe we'll see you there. Who knows?
Maybe propose the American Dream Mall instead.
Yes.
Then you can go skiing. Add that to your list. Some super overpriced, crappy skiing indoors.
I've actually already Google mapped it to see how far the American Dream Mall is from the basketball venue.
I imagine it's not very far.
No, it's about 18 minutes. So maybe we'll be there.
Lucky you. Well, I'm super excited about today's podcast. We have such a dynamic guest on. I mean, I love all our guests. We have plenty of dynamic guests, but today I think we're in for a treat. So today we're joined by Awais Farooq, and we're going to talk a lot about AI, but what I love about him is he has this very not global view, but overarching view of things and vision, and kind of how to bring that vision forward. And and he's just a super smart guy, and just a dynamic person to chat with.
Absolutely. And he talks about the book that he wrote on AI, and hopefully it'll be coming out right around the time that this podcast is released, because I personally cannot wait to read it, because he is just so smart and so forward thinking in AI and in everything around claims.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope it's coming out right when we release it. Maybe we'll time it correctly. Who knows? But I think you're in for a treat. So let's just bring him in.
This is the Claims Never Sleep podcast, presented by Cruiser Mitchell, with your host, Megan Henry.
Good morning, Awais. Welcome to Claims Never Sleep. I'm so happy to have you. How are you today?
Doing well. Enjoying this weather. Nice and warm weather in the Northeast, which we've been craving for quite some time. So beautiful day.
I know, but don't get too comfortable. I think it's going to turn in a few days. So don't put the sweatshirts away just yet.
Never a dull moment.
Yeah, and we were joking before we started recording. It's like we're all kind of in closer proximity to each other. We probably could have done an in-person recording of Claims Never Sleep, which we have not yet done. So maybe next time.
Yes, that would have been nice. But traffic in Philadelphia and New Jersey is not really comfortable drive.
No, and yes, and there's been quite a big incident the other day on 295 in Jersey too. So I don't even know if it's back smooth sailing yet. But anyway, I digress. So, we had talked a while ago about you coming on, and, I kind of gave you a background, but something we all talk to all our guests about, because everyone's journey into insurance and claims is very, very different. Most people don't decide, I want to go in insurance. So I'm curious, what was your path?
So similar. It was, I would say, accidental for me to land in insurance. It was my insurance agent that said, "Hey, I want you to come work for me." Really?
That's a first.
Yeah, I said no. I think insurance is legal robbery, and I don't want any part of that. And so she said, "Why don't you go talk to my husband, who's in claims?" And at that point, I had no idea what claims were. I was young, I was just trying to get through college, and I thought it would be a 6-month deal where I would go in, make some money, and be out. and almost 2 decades now, and it feels like yesterday.
Wait, I have a question. So you were in college and you were chatting with your insurance agent. That itself is impressive because I don't think I knew what insurance was in college.
Well,
Never mind, had an agent.
The only reason I was chatting with her is because my premiums kept on going up with the insurance company that I had, and I was a State Farm agent, and she became very helpful. And every time I walked into her office, she would try to sell me a new policy, a life policy, being sold to an 18-year-old. I wasn't excited about that, but she would try every angle to sell me. And that's when I told her, I said, insurance is legal robbery. Stop robbing me. I came here for a good discount to get by in college, and the rest is history.
Yeah, like I just need car insurance and maybe rental insurance.
That's it.
So then you talked to her husband and that's when you got sold on claims and went into claims. Like, so you had an internship?
No, so it was actually right into the claims operations department, and I didn't even actually talk to her husband. I just applied, and I guess her husband pushed my name through and said, "Hey, just talk to him." And when I had the interview, one of my greatest mentors, Peter, he was there, and he asked me, "Why do you want to work here?" And I said, I don't know. My agent told me, a dumb, a naive college student answer of my agent told me that I should work here, and here I am. And he said, "What do you know about claims?" I said, "Absolutely nothing." I think he liked my honesty, and the follow-up question was, are you willing to learn? And I said, "Teach me whatever you can. I'll learn it faster than you can teach it." So I think that's what sold him. Maybe, I don't know.
I'd say that's probably a golden answer.
Yeah. It was an honest answer, right? I was aggressive. It was tell me what you want me to do, and I'll do it.
What were you studying in college? I mean, what did you think you were going to do?
Oh gosh, I thought it was going to be something. I mean, it was business management, typical. Mm-hmm. I knew I was going to get into sales or marketing, and some easy, I would say, career path, but. I ended up going to Immaculata University for my undergrad, and that was in human performance behavior. And I did part of that while I was at State Farm. They would actually come to State Farm building at that campus. There was about 3,000 people, and we would have a conference room where the team managers and the directors were the professors. So it was a quite unique experience in working and then going to a conference room and getting into school business.
That's really interesting. Yeah. So how many people were in your classes?
Anywhere from 20 to 30 kids. I mean, I call them kids, but they were all professional learners. They were, they weren't all young. And I think that's what helped me accelerate, because seeing some of those folks, and they weren't all State Farm people. So we would have companies like AstraZeneca, Pfizer, folks would come from there and, as adult learning and wanted to kind of get their life back on track and get an undergraduate degree. And it was a really great program. So I was quite fortunate to be able to kind of run through that path at an accelerated rate.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That is awesome. I've actually never heard of anything like that. And it sounds like it really kind of propelled your career in insurance, even though, it was adjacent to what you were doing, but it wasn't completely tied to it.
Yeah, 100%. Well, they wanted to support, I guess, from continuous learning standpoint. And I'm quite fortunate. State Farm did an amazing job. I got my graduate degree in insurance management to see the path there. So I have a graduate degree in insurance management from Boston University. They pushed me to do my CPCUs, AIC, AIC-M, LPCS. So just kind of, it was the question of, hey, you should learn more. And I said, tell me where to sign up, and I'll go I'll study, take exams, and see how it propels. But I will tell you, the first AIC exam I ever took, I failed, and I got disappointed, and I didn't take another one for another 2 years because I was like, wow. And I thought and it was too early on, I think, for me to understand what the conceptual understanding of insurance was. And then after that, I was taking an exam probably every 6 months. Mm-hmm. And I think it was just that taught me, and I encourage other people, if you took one and you failed, that's okay. You just, you'll be surprised at yourself of how do you change your understanding and learning path. One of the things was every time I would open up the Institute's book, I would fall asleep. I would study at night after working all day, and literally 10 minutes into it, it is boring stuff, right?
Yes.
And then I found some great study resources, and that's what helped accelerate me in the way I learn. And it's more, I like to understand the application of policies. That helps me kind of ingest it a little bit better. And once I started changing my path of how I was studying versus just reading a book and, trying to remember a million things for the exam was just not my style.
When I took the claim examiner exam for the first time, like to become a licensed examiner, you needed a 70 to pass, and I got a 71. And I nearly died. And it was one of those days that, like, I was dog sitting for my friend. I lost her dog that morning in my neighborhood, running around, and I didn't feel right. Like, I just didn't feel well. I took the exam. I'm like crying when I got there. Passed by 1 point. I came home and I found out that I was pregnant that day with my first daughter.
Oh my God.
I'll never forget that day. But kind of like you're saying, like, I was like, I'm never taking another one of these exams again, never. But that was a crazy circumstances. But they're very much unlike anything you've ever. I mean, even the bar exam, like, they're nothing like it. It was a completely different type of test for sure.
Yeah. No. Well,
and like one thing I do is a little sidetracking, but I feel like when we were all going through school, I don't think anyone taught me how to study, and it was kind of just self-taught, and not necessarily always in the best way. I think I learned how to just memorize, and rather than, and even in college, like, I just would eventually you would go through the process and learn it, but like you started out just learning to memorize, and now I feel like the kids are learning at an early age the different ways to approach studying as to like what works best for them. And I feel like at our point, we were just all funneled into one location. You memorize the information and then you spit out the information. Yes.
That's right.
And that's probably why, like, when we were taking tests like the bar exam and licensure tests, like we weren't as well equipped to figure out how to tackle it that works best for our own brain.
100%. I for the institutes, there's a gentleman who has a university called the Big Daddy University. I don't know if you know it, but as crazy it is, he used to have these DVDs and he would teach it, and it was probably the best thing I invested in. I still have like hundreds of his DVDs. I would record it on my phone and I would listen to it in my drives. And that helped me accelerate so much more, because he would then apply that, right? Because in the exam, you're normally just answering the same question of like, hey, status letters, is it 15 days, 30 days, 45 days, initial letter, acknowledgement letter? And it confuses you of what you're doing internally at an organization versus what is the state doing, right? And I think some of those numbers are quite interesting. And that's what stuck with me is like, okay, I have to understand what I'm taking the exam for versus not the processes that exist internally. So he did a really nice job with that. I don't even know if he's still around, but this is probably a promo for him.
Yeah, Big Daddy, was it Big Daddy University?
Yeah, it's the most interesting name.
I hope he bought that domain.
I think it's called Big Daddy U is what it was. And hey, it's first when I opened it up, I'm like, what is this? And then the content itself was amazing. He had done a really nice job of kind of helping folks understand. I don't know if you've ever taken a CPCU exam, but the 540, the financial piece, was something that everybody struggled with. And I didn't have any struggle with it. It actually helped me personally and professionally to understand all the different aspects of, how do you manage finances, et cetera, and what are all the different vehicles that are available to you. So very good content for sure.
Yeah, it sounds like when the lawyers all have to take accounting for lawyers and they all freak out because they don't know how to do it. So I wanted to touch on this though before we move on to talk more about what you did in claims, because you mentioned your mentor Peter, and it just stood out to me. So like, what was it about Peter like that like kind of brought you in and raised you up and like kind of connected you to him?
Yeah, I would say, look, he was young. He was, one of the younger people in the industry. He was excited. He wanted to do things differently. He had a very great growth path, and unintentionally, I kind of followed him around. We went from auto to fire, and then he went from fire to catastrophe. I kind of went there, and so on and so forth. And it was just like one of those things that, he always supported me. He was my ambassador. I think that's what kind of got me hooked into the industry. Peter is just one of a few people that, helped me within State Farm. And now I have a huge network of folks even today. That mentorship is very important, right? Yeah. Is people who've been there, done that. At the same time, you learn from all their experiences and then you create your own. And I think I encourage folks to have mentors, but more importantly, I encourage them to have ambassadors, right? Mm-hmm. And someone that can advocate for you while you're not in the room. And that's what gets you going. I will tell you the one sentence I always say to any leader I work for is, you tell me to jump, my response is going to be how high. And I think that resonates with people in saying, hey, we want go-getters. We want people who are entrepreneurial spirit. And everybody wants an entrepreneur, right? But nobody really demonstrates that. What does that mean? That means doing the assignments that you don't like. That means, doing the work that may be uncomfortable, you don't agree with, but giving it a try, and then coming up with a recommendation and feedback on how do you think it should differ. Everybody can point to a problem. It's important to know what your proposed solution is, right?
Yeah. And are you still in touch with him?
Oh, yeah. We'll still stay in touch with Peter. Yeah.
Well, it's also, and I mean, we're just getting to know you better right now, but you also strike me as someone who you kind of emulate what you just described in Peter in yourself. Like you kind of seem to be that same type of person. So do you have some people that you feel that you're mentoring?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have several students from Gamma Iota Sigma from Temple and a couple other universities as well. So I always leave my door open to saying I'll mentor as many people as I can, but I let them be in charge of where they want to take their journey, right? And I think a lot of people want answers. I'm not the one to give them an answer. I think I'm the one to be able to show them what they don't see within themselves, and to show them where the paths can go and help connect them to areas, show them resources, so that way they themselves can go in and say, yes, I can do X, Y, and Z. And I think that was very valuable to me. Peter had that kind of focus. I had other people that had different, executive presence. They taught me how to have the business conduct and business discipline of how to manage people, how to, gain most out of the people around me. How can I be a leader before I even have a leadership role, right? And I think some of those things stick with me even to today, right? The lessons that I was taught, et cetera, and I'm still learning, right?
Yeah. And it's funny, like we were interviewing someone this week, and I was talking about like my experience, and I've had a few mentors throughout my legal career, and then in all serving different roles, but the one that stood out the most is the one that like encouraged me to think on my own. And that's what we were talking to this potential new hire about. I was like, my goal or my idea for you is not to spoon feed you anything, but to give you, say, a file and have you review it and come back to me with what you think the solution is. And it's okay if it's not totally right, but I want you to think of it rather than me saying you need to do X, you need to do Y, you need to do Z, because then you're never going to independently come to X, Y, and Z on your own. And I think that way because I was in that same situation. I had a partner who spoon fed me everything, and then I got to a new firm and I didn't know how to do it on my own. I was like, well, where's my guidance? Until I had to like basically figure it all out, and it helps. It really helps shape you.
Yeah. No, I'll just add to that is like, look, I always tell people two things. One is always learn to manage up. What are the things that your leaders are looking for? Not your boss, but your boss's boss, right? How can you help answer those questions? So that way you can be set up for success, right? And the other piece is to exactly what you said. I use an analogy. I say, there are many people that can point to the fire. There are a few people that will extinguish the fire. There are very few people who would replace the extinguisher. And then there are very few people who will teach other people how to do it. There's very few people who will then, figure out how the fire never happens again. And the goal is like, there's always that continuous momentum of what you can do. And I'm okay with you coming to me with a solution and saying, hey, let's take the fire extinguisher and, break the window so that way we can all jump out of it. That's a solution, right? It's not the perfect solution, but you came to me with a thought process, tell me how you got there, and then we problem solve together, right? It's always better to kind of think ahead and saying, how do I anticipate and add value to those around me, whether it's my leaders, peers, mentees, direct reports, whoever that may be.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you're a fan of the show Scrubs. I don't know if you ever watched it.
No,
so there's a revival that has just come out like 25 years after the original show. And like the original is about interns and residents and their mentor doctors. And now there's like new residents, and those, the former ones are now the mentors. And it's interesting too, because like I watched the first one when I was in my 20s, right? And now in my 40s watching the next one. And so it's always so interesting to see things from a different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And like now that we've come to the age that like we still have mentors, but then we're also like turning around and trying to help the next generation. And like, what can you do to help them? And especially in this industry, like there's such an issue with recruiting, retention, all of that. So like, what can you do to like, kind of like what Peter did to you, or even what your agent did to you without even knowing, and like stirring that fire within you to learn about this industry. Because as you said, even in the beginning, like when you went to college, like, are you going to do marketing? Are you going to do sales? In insurance, like you could do all of that. You could do a little bit of everything at a different time. So it's a really great industry to be in.
100%. And I always share, I did a poll and I challenged people and I said, name a profession that doesn't touch insurance, right? It's very rare. There's some shape, way, or capacity. Every single human being has to have health insurance or some way of covering themselves and their personal belongings and the businesses that they run, the professions that they own. So I think all of that, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, I think what was it? I think it was Sarah Abrams when she came on the podcast. She had a quote. It was something like, "Insurance is the pulse of the economy." Mm-hmm. It was something like that. I might be butchering, but it was something, and I was like, "Yes, she hit it like spot on." Okay, so you're at State Farm. You start handling claims, and I mean, one thing that we've learned through talking to other people who work at State Farm is they have an extremely robust training program. So what an amazing place to start and just like, learn and plant your roots. But what are you doing out of the gates? And how do you feel about it at that point?
Yeah, it was a lot of support, a lot of great processes, talking about like, you've never heard of anybody doing classes at an insurance company. I'll even surprise you even more. The people that I was working with, they used to tell me that they used to be on roller skates and they used to push file carts around and deliver files at people's desks, right? So imagine coming out of college and these are the people that you're working with, and they're like, yeah, we used to roll down all these files and we would drop them off and we'd pick up the files that were closed, and we had a lot of paper files. Essentially, they were in these storage rooms, and you could still see the Polaroid pictures and the carbon copies of the checks and the medical records, and like it was a very interesting experience. I would say, look, then the support was awesome. The training was amazing. I then went to what they call the fire team, which is the property side of things for State Farm. Had a really good training opportunity. Got a chance to spend some time in Jacksonville, Florida, where they have mock-ups of homes, and it really put some good perspective and reality into all the different things that I learned. I feel like I could build a house. Probably won't be that good, but I have a working knowledge of what it means to have a construction view of how houses are made, etc. So it was really robust program. Went into catastrophe after that. Catastrophe was an amazing experience because now you got to see in the field. I've climbed roofs. I've been in flooded homes. Tornadoes hit the house, and a variety of different areas. I've pretty much lived every state east of Nebraska for at least 2 months
Wow.
of the year. So it's been it was quite an interesting journey for about 6 years. That's all I did. Spent about 8 to 10 months on the road. Helped accelerate my understanding of the different geographies, how different policies work, how different localities are considering different things, whether it's building codes or anything else from a property standpoint, engineering, the different exclusions that apply. It gave me a much, much broader view of the property policies itself, and I think it put a different perspective in me.
Did you have any favorite places that you lived?
Everything was amazing. I will tell you. I think that's whenever people.
It's like the lawyer's response of it depends.
I know. Yeah. No, it's not. It depends. I feel like I can live anywhere. After having done that, it helped me to realize that no matter where you go, there's no perfect place. Florida is beautiful. You get everything, and then you get the hurricanes, because I've been there. I've seen all the disasters that happen afterwards, right? You can go to the Midwest and you have the tornadoes, right?
Yeah.
And you could be in the Northeast. And I spent 2 years in New York after Hurricane Sandy. So I helped lead that operation. We had 50,000 claims in the 5 boroughs of New York.
Wow.
So going from an office of 0 people and standing up 1,400 people showing up in 3 days in a blank building. So it gave a different perspective. I love New York, but it's left a little bit of trauma in me based off of the type of claims we were handling. And I'll visit New York. I don't think I'll stay. I'll stay in New York. But I think whether you're in the Finger Lakes or you're in Michigan or anywhere else, there's always like some things that stick with you. But I will tell you, I've seen the world's largest fire hydrant, ketchup bottle, chair, truck stop, sombrero hat. So I feel like every place has the world's largest something. So. Yes,
or there's one place in New York that they have the world's second largest giant gnome. Yeah, I think at one point it was the largest. It's like a gnome statue, and it was at one point the largest, and then someone built a larger one. Wow. It's like the world's, and they had to add like a little second, and they.
So if you won't pick a favorite place, where is the food the best? Did you find like one region that is the best food?
So not during the catastrophe travel, but last year I spent time in Canada the entire year. By far the best food I've had is in Canada. The quality of food, but in the States, I would say it would have to be Chicago. So much diversity, amazing.
In Canada? Like what kind of food? I mean, because other than like poutine, like I cannot think of a Canadian delicacy.
So it's not Canadian food. I think it's very diverse. So you can find amazing Japanese steakhouses to and I feel like coming from US, I saw a major difference in the quality of food. A lot of it is locally sourced, even at some of these major restaurants. So when you're going in, it's very locally sourced, so it doesn't feel like it has as many GMOs as we do in the States.
Yeah,
it's really interesting because I would have never, you don't think about Canada in that kind of way, but that's really interesting.
Yeah,
I mean,
all my Canadian people are loving it. Probably all the Americans are booing me.
No, I mean, I remember I went to Montreal, I don't know, a while ago, but it was like a food tour. I mean, that's the whole point of it wasn't really, I mean, we saw some stuff, but it was really just to eat. It was all about the reservations.
Yeah, I agree. Same thing. Yeah. But maybe because I spent a full year there last year. So it's just that added to it. And I thoroughly enjoyed the food.
So wait, what brought you to Canada for a whole year?
So I was at Crawford & Company. I was leading part of their Canadian operation. So catastrophe, they had a Contractor Connection, which is a managed repair network. All the shared services and the call center I was helping oversee those operations. So it was, it was a good opportunity. Prior to that, I was essentially doing North America. So it was US and Canadian business. So I was always involved with Canada at a distance, but an opportunity came in to lead that business for almost a year. And it was a great experience. I loved it. Canadians are way nicer. There's less litigation, which was different for me. But overall, I think it was a good experience.
The winter might be a little brutal.
Oh yes, so I started in January, and that's one thing I would say. That's the one thing I'll say is I had to get a completely different attire, and it was brutal indeed.
Yeah, I know why people spend so much on those jackets.
Yes, it was worth every penny.
What part of Canada were you in?
So mostly Toronto, but then I got a chance to go to Saskatchewan, Saskatoon. That is cold. It gets cold. It gets extremely cold, but beautiful area.
But let's just back up a little bit though. You're at State Farm, and then eventually, like, you're there for a long time. And what prompted the move? Was it just you're like, okay, I've have a great basis, and I'm ready to like level up, or what was the reason?
Yeah, I wanted to get off the road, is what I would say.
Sense.
I said, I was traveling a lot, 8 to 10 months out of the year. It was kind of getting a little too aggressive. So I joined in with Farmers for a very brief time. I was there 3 months as a general adjuster, but at the same time, I was having conversations with Chubb. So Chubb presented me with an opportunity that I could not turn down. And my leadership at Farmers, I'm grateful for them to, understanding that. And they actually encouraged me to say, go and do it, because they wouldn't have anything like that. So it was essentially, I went to Chubb to lead all of the North America commercial claim operations. It was all of the ACE business. So going from a monoline experience to having 19 different lines of businesses reporting into me. So anything from professional lines to property and casualty, workers' comp, things I didn't know people bought insurance for. So it was a very, very, very great experience. I got to work a lot in the BPO space, and offshored a lot of the back office operations, as well as transformation of the business. Focused a lot on the continuous improvement initiatives, and at that time, heavily involved in the IoT space. As we were looking at different spaces within the commercial sector of how do we activate some of these services. At the time we were talking about how do we go from phone calls to text messages, which seems archaic now, or hey, how do we go from Excel reports into more of a digital platform where we can see things. But it was working around automation, working around I call that claim handling 2.0 of kind of getting it more in the digitized space. So that was exciting for me. So that's where I landed after State Farm, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, that I would agree that was like a huge step for you to take, and probably like really launched your career to like where kind of in the direction where you are now, because you really leveled up.
Yeah, 100%. It was, once again, it was a great opportunity. I presented my vision of what I think needed to happen and how I was going to execute, and what I had done, leveraging some of that and the skill set that I brought to the table. So I think, part of it was they took a chance on me coming from a monoline to commercial, and I think I did a great job. People still remember my name and, sing my praises of the time that I was there. So I'm very fortunate for that, but a lot of it was collaboration, right? And I think that's what I found as you get more into that diverse and increase as a leader. You need to have great partners with you. You need to be able to articulate what can you do for them, and how you can help the organization. And change is never easy, right? And I came into a massively disrupted environment. And being there for people, understanding, hearing what they needed, and helping them achieve those wins was my core goal. And I think people saw the genuine focus in doing that and helping drive performance. Forget the change. Change is one element, but I think it's more about getting the results and having the results speak to it. It's the same, in claims, this is always the same problems. You have a lot of complaints, you have a lot of broken processes, communication is a challenge. And I'm sure you all see that in, all your litigation files is like, only if you would have picked up the phone and made a phone call, this could have all been avoided, right? And I think, or sent a letter explaining, and before you sent a letter, you would have explained to them what you're actually sending and not blindly just denying claims or doing things. So I think it all boils down to how do we gather information, how do we articulate that and present it back to the policyholders or claimants so they can understand. So I focused in on that. I focused in on the communication element and really heard people, understood what they were all about, and helped them understand how we're going to get closer to their success and what we need to do to achieve that.
Yeah. And so was this right around the time that Chubb and ACE came together? So
it was right after. Yeah.
So I was there. I worked at Chubb at the time.
Oh,
so
okay.
As you're talking, like I just remember, and I know the chaos that you came into because it was two completely different companies, just like coming together. So it's kind of cool that like I, appreciate everything that you did for Chubb because it was an interesting time, and it was a great opportunity for someone like you to come in and like have a vision and for them to accept that and be like, okay, yes, let's run with it because this is the perfect opportunity to try something new.
Yeah, and when you have multiple entities, I think everybody just remembers Chubb and ACE, but there's so much more than that, right? They have the combined, they have the Westchester business, they had the Fireman's Fund. So all of these people, right? And Chubb and ACE was the bigger topic, but internally, there's 17 different underwriting systems, 4 claims management systems, and it's like a whole slew of different applications that you had to kind of combine. And once we got everybody rowing in the same direction, things accelerated, right? It's more so of saying you still need to handle claims, you still need a claims management system, you still need an underwriting platform. Let's get you the best of what you need and help you get to that next stage so you can actually make decisions. But to your point, yes, it was a very disruptive environment, a lot of ambiguity of what's going to happen, just like any time any companies come together.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, at the time I had been with Legacy Chubb and then in professional lines, and I moved over to Legacy ACE GL.
Oh, yeah.
Random move. I completely understand. But at the same time, I was handling things on all different papers, right? Like we had like all these different policies, all these. So it was just right. That is the life of a person in claims. You don't know what's happening, what's going to happen to you that day. And you just got to run.
That's right.
So, but take us to because I don't want to get away from where you are now and because you're doing something very exciting now. So, why don't we talk a little bit about that? Because you came to Venbrook, but you're one thing that when I saw the announcement and then we met, and what I really related to you about was you're really out there to kind of do things differently, and that's kind of our mantra at Cruiser Mitchell too. So I feel like that's how I feel like we're aligned in the same sort of way we approach matters. Mm-hmm. So I'm really curious to have you, or I really want you to share how you came to Venbrook and your kind of your vision, because I think it's awesome.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'll tell you. So after Chubb, I went to Berkshire Hathaway. I started the PNC claims department. So it kind of gave me a different angle of it where I worked with a lot of TPAs. And the reason why I'm sharing that is that kind of led me into this journey of having seen that quite closely at Chubb and quite closely at Berkshire Hathaway, and saying there are a lot of gaps. I mean, carriers are looking for one thing, right? They want better performance on their policies, the premiums that they're writing. They want just better outcomes, and from an indemnity standpoint, and all the expenses that go along with that, how can they minimize it and increase profitability? At the end of the day, we're all doing this because we want to generate good profitability, and we also want to provide a societal product that helps support those that want to transfer that risk, right? And I think that led to my journey and kind of exploration of, I went to a tech company for a little bit and their go-to-market, but then Crawford and Company and focusing in on strategy and transformation. So I did a lot of thought leadership during the time at the tech company and at Crawford and Company, where I started digging into what do we want, what is the pure claims department look like for the industry? What do you need to do to help kind of aid the insurance companies? What are they struggling with? And or, just the self-insured companies, right? As they have coverage, they have policies, procedures, and how they want things handled. And we just need to apply them and make sure that we're abiding to the policy and we're communicating and doing all that. And it led the journey into Venbrook from, kind of the similar phase, because Venbrook has acquired 3 companies over the last couple of years. And it's been, I don't know how much you know about Venbrook, but Venbrook is half of it is brokerage. The other half is the claims area. And in the claims area, we have Carl Warren, which has an established name. And then we have David Moores and Associates from a field adjusting standpoint, and then One Source from more of a complex and, specialty claims area. So, kind of the same mission, that we're driving the ship in the same direction and giving a diverse ecosystem to our clients where they can tap into what they need. If they need to have full end-to-end claim adjudication, we can provide that, right? If they want the field resources, we can provide that. If they need some very specialized program where we need to individualize and provide dedicated resources to be able to manage those programs because they're so unique and they're so different from just your standard property and casualty, we can do that. So the journey there was essentially my pitch of how do we go from claims 2.0 to now claims 3.0. So
I think you're at 4.0. I think you skipped. I think 3.0 was somewhere in the middle.
I'm slowing down. I think we keep on adding the numbers.
We're on master's level right now.
We're on the next level, but I call it 3.0 just for the sake of, I think we're still in the infancy stages of touching the technology where it needs to be. I think we're not ready for 4.0. I think there's a tendency to slow down before we run, and which is the right approach, right? You want to learn to make sure your momentum is good before you sprint off and fall or hurt yourself. So that's kind of the thought process I have. But essentially, I want to be able to build an ecosystem where client partners can come in and tap into what makes the most sense, right? And I have a thought process on information gathering, documentation, and decisioning are the 3 key elements where I bridge in this gap of what's needed whenever you're dealing with claims. Information gathering is time consuming. It takes a long time and it wears people out. The next piece is documentation is very tedious. You have to pretty much write your file notes. You have to be able to summarize the doctor's notes and all of these things. And then the third piece, the decisioning, which takes the smallest time of saying, hey, I gathered the information based off the documentation, I analyzed it, and here's my decision on whether I'm going to pay the claim or deny the claim. My goal is to automate that information gathering and documentation as much as possible. So that way we can help the adjuster be that super adjuster, so that way they can start to have meaningful conversations. It doesn't mean that the human's out of the loop. I want the humans to be doing more of the talking, because I'm looking at the banking sector. When you look at the banking sector, I thought everything was going to go away, especially after COVID, because all the banks were closed. And I don't know about you all, but in my area, every corner has 4 banks now. Like every traffic light that I go to, it's like 4 new banks, and they've become more consultative, right? It's more of, let me become a financial advisor. Same thing for the insurance world. I think we're getting into that phase of us being consultative, whether it's in a claims area, risk management, underwriting. I think we're going to have multiple hats that we wear, but at the end of the day, the role itself is going to shift more of that, gaining that trust of the person and saying, it's always been a struggle, right? You purchase a policy, you don't know what you purchased, and something happens, and whether you get denied a claim, you get upset. If you're paid, you're happy, and if you're paid, you want to inflate the claim, and you have all these other people coming in at you and saying, hey, you could get 10,000 more if you could let me do the work on your house. Or if I do your body shop, guess what? I can get you new tires in, or whatever. Right? There's all of those external pressures that kind of mess with that business. But at the same time, if we can get into a model of where the client starts to have trust, I think there's going to be more products that are going to come out. There's going to be more support and we're going to get more individualized in the risk allocation for every single policyholder that exists. So all that to say, my excitement for Venbrook is, the CEO and I work very closely in helping identify how do we differentiate as a third-party administrator, as an independent adjusting company, and as all the claims solutions that we provide to be more of a partner, more than just being a solution provider, right? And there's many solution providers. We want to incorporate, and we want to be able to sit down and say, this is what we did to help achieve your combined ratio or your loss ratio, reduce your litigation. And that's my focus. And I have a vision of that ecosystem that we're designing to help the industry.
You know what's funny is that exactly what you're explaining seems to me to kind of parallel what you were talking about earlier as being a mentor and like people coming to you with a solution. And it seems as if like that's what you want to provide for your clients, right? Like a solution, like just here, like just make it easy for them.
Yeah, listen, I never thought of it like that, but I you're right. As I reflect on your comment, that's absolutely it, right? I mean, at the end of the day, we're human, right? We want to help people. We want to do things, make a difference. And I think that's the focus I have internally with our teams. And I think our teams are really excited to be able to get in that journey of making a difference versus doing a work, right?
Yeah. But it sounds to me a little bit though, like I feel like we went through this stage that you never talked to anybody. Everything was on an app, everything was automated, and it's not like it's gone away, it's still happening. And it's so frustrating because then you never get an answer to the problem because you never actually talking to someone. And now it sounds like the shift is, okay, we're going to use some automation to help you get to a solution so you can talk to someone who can actually help you. But like, it's been a step process. Like, I think we just weren't there yet before, and the automation helped and it helped streamline things, but it wasn't a solution. And now we're like, okay, now we can use this automation to help streamline it. So then you can actually talk to someone.
Yeah. Look, I think on the flip side of that, though, I don't think it's a challenge of talking to people. I'll share a personal example, right? Having been in the claims business for as long as I've been, I had a motorcycle accident 3 years ago, and I T-boned a deer, and I totaled my motorcycle. And I had a bodily injury adjuster, I had a property damage adjuster, I had a total loss adjuster, and then I had just a general adjuster. I guess the steward adjuster is what I called it. So I had 4 people, and every time I would pick up the phone, all 4 of them answered and picked up and spoke to me, but none of them spoke to each other. So I would say, hey, where do I mail the title? I'll have the total adjuster get back to you. Hey, what's going on with this? So it was a frustrating process. Yeah. It was very technology driven, right? I could text them, but guess what? The text message was going to this person. They were flipping it over to this person. So I think we need to solve this problem of the end user as far as communicating with them at the right time. So the way you do that is put the right work in front of the right person at the right time and make the right decisions. And when you do that, I think that's what's going to differentiate you. So I think a lot of people throw technology at the problem. I think instead of throwing technology, we solve the problem and then use the technology, right? You don't say, hey, we're gonna need 20 hammers to be able to put this roof on. You got to make sure somebody who is capable of using that hammer to drive the nail, right? You give it to me, those nails are going to be all over the place. They're going to be bent. They're going to be messed up. But if you give it to someone who's capable of doing that role efficiently, they don't need 20 hammers. They don't need so many different tools. They just need the right tool that they can utilize to help put that product together.
And also what stands out a little bit too about your experience is you work in insurance. Like you know how this process works. So then imagine someone sitting in your shoes that has no clue and how overwhelmed and frustrated they're going to be. Like you actually know the language, the lingo, you know what to ask for. You're in a better position than the average end user in that situation.
Yeah. And the funny thing was I was on crutches and I was told I had to drive, I had to hand deliver and sign my title over. And I'm talking to the person and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to go with the flow. It's fine. I literally just had the accident. It's a week and I can't walk, but you're telling me I have to physically go. And I would get text messages, routine text messages. Hey, we haven't received your title yet. You need to come into this office. And it was COVID. And, and that was a whole another chaos on top of that. And I'm like, what world are we living in that I have to physically deliver the title over to you? Why can't I do this virtually, mail it to you, do what's needed? And I'm not saying that process does not exist. It exists. A lot of people utilize it, and so on and so forth. But for that particular company, it was, and it's a big name company, right? It was a big aha moment for me that look, the solutions that we're designing, the end users don't have input into how that goes into play. So it's a two-way street, right? You have the executive strategy, you have the board direction, you have the next layer leadership that's driving and saying we need to be able to digitize, we need to be able to do all these things. But the input from the end user is mostly after the fact. But if you kind of tackle it from both angles, you get a much better product, much better buy-in. People don't blame the technology for not working. They figure out a solution for you, right? That's why I love mom and pop shops, right? You go in, you tell them what you'd like, and they'll make it work for you. Versus you just go into a situation where, you're just a process. You're just a process. And I think we have to get, even from the big names perspective, to get and be big but small at the same time, so people feel valued. Look at Amazon, right? Every time I log into Amazon, I feel like they create a website for me because it's all the things I like, all the things that I should get, right? And I think with claims and with insurance, that's where we have to get to. We have to individualize it in a way that it feels like that person is the most valuable person that we're speaking to.
And everyone's talking about like AI and it's going to take over all the jobs, but I don't know. I may be wrong, but I feel like it's going to be AI in conjunction with a human that's going to make the process better. Like, I just don't see how humans can be removed from the process.
I think it will create more jobs. I think it's going to add a whole another layer. I wrote a book. It's called "The Future Isn't Fully Automated." It's going to be releasing here next couple of weeks, and it talks about that. And it's all focused on the insurance space, right, and the underwriting and claims and actuarial marketing, as far as where there will be opportunities. I talk about when the printing press came out, everybody thought we're going to be dumb and nobody's going to memorize anything. And, look where that got us. When the tech boom happened, everybody said, oh, wow, the computers can calculate, 2 + 2. That's it. It's the end of the world. Right. And look where we are with the tech boom. And I think we're in that same journey. Right. And I think that journey is not going to transition. There's a really good AI book. It's called The Fourth Age. It talks about how we learned as a humanity in the first phase to be able to communicate with one another. It's the language aspect of it. Then we learned to trade, how we trade with one another. Then we implemented technology. And then the next phase is now kind of going back a little bit to how do we communicate more effectively? How do we get in this age of leveraging the intellect and the knowledge to make sure we're making the right decisions? So that's the fourth age that we're entering into, which is the AI, but more importantly, it's the intelligence element of, how will our intelligence differ from what it was, from the Stone Ages to now. So I agree with you. I think I have a prediction. It will create more jobs than it will eliminate. It will eliminate hundreds and dozens of jobs, just like the IT sector did, right? I mean, nobody's sitting there and handwriting stuff, like that's gone. Nobody's typewriting anything. We no longer have desktops. Like, people don't have to be tied to their home. I feel like we're busier now with more technology than we have ever been. And we're doing so much more than we ever did before.
And is there a way to pre-order your book? Can people go online and sign up for it? Because I can't wait to read it.
Yeah, not yet. I have it pending. I have it pending to where it will. I'll have a pre-sale link in pretty soon. So I'll share that with you all. Love to have that.
Yes.
So it's a work in progress.
Well, and I feel like the AI is it's leveling everyone up, right? Like, now, because it can make our jobs easier so we can do more.
Yeah.
And I think we had talked about this a few weeks ago when we sat down and talked, we're using AI a lot to assist, but I recently got like a summary of like a discovery, something that my paralegal had done. And I remember looking at it and I was like, I love that you used AI to help you, but like it doesn't replace you too, because you still need you still need human eyes on this, and you still need to evaluate this. Like cut out the busy work. And that's what I love about it. You can cut out all the stuff that takes this big chunk of time that doesn't add, you doing it doesn't add a lot of value, but you still need to like look at it, look at the paper, the black and white, and evaluate if the product that AI gave you is good, and what does it need? Like we still need that human component on top of it, and that will just make using it that way, it elevates everything that we're doing. It makes it helps us get to solutions faster. It's a tool, not a replacement. And I think the people who use it as a replacement are the ones who are going to fall behind, unfortunately.
That's right. And I think you can't blindly use it, right? I think the human intellect of what needs to happen, where it goes. I always say this to my team. I was like, I want you to do twice the amount of work with half the amount of effort that you put into that, right? Yeah. And that's the goal. It's like, how can we superpower you so that way you're focused on the right work, right? Which is that communication, which is that conversation, the empathy and the care that you bring, and the longevity of the business, and how you help drive having conversations and educating people on, hey, you did not have coverage for this. One of the best examples I have is of an adjuster who denied on my team a total loss. It was probably, I think, over a $500,000 loss, if I recall correctly. And it was a total loss, something with the coverage. It was not covered outside of the policy period or whatever, and she did not have any coverage. He just sat down with her, spent a decent amount of time and kind of talking through with her. She wrote a 5-star review on us after having been denied a $500,000 claim, right? I mean, it's providing the resources and saying, hey, these are some of the areas that you can touch base with. Here's what you can do. Here's what you should think about when you buy the house again. I think all of that, like, it didn't make the person feel good that they did not get a penny for their home, but it helped them understand what is it that they can do to help drive that.
Yes, it's the emotional intelligence of a human. It can't be replicated. Right. And there was that one conference that you and I were both at, and they had one of the keynote speakers was talking about how AI is going to, resolve 80 to 90% of claims in the future, and only the big, huge claims are going to be left. And I think there's something that's being missed there. Like, right. It's like those types of claims that, like, it's not all about, there's going to be an algorithm where you can plug in, here's the venue, here's what happens, and it's going to come up with a number. But it's not only about the number, right? It's about those conversations, or maybe there's something other than the money that they're looking for. And with AI, it's going to be missed. And like, that's the kind of stuff that, like, I want to scream from the rooftops when everyone keeps talking about this.
No, 100%. I couldn't agree with you more. I think it's about that. I think, when you have a claim, when I had a claim, yes, it mattered that I needed the check and I needed to figure out who's going to pay for my medical bills and who's going to pay for the property that got damaged and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, it was more important to know that, hey, even though I haven't been in claims, I don't know what to do next. I've never dealt with a motorcycle accident, right? Hitting a deer, like where do I need to go? It's been a long time since I actually handled claims, and especially auto claims. And what is that process now that's going to be differing? And to your point, I think it's more of that guidance, that coaching, and the mentorship that you provide as an adjuster. I think we should call them claims mentors, right? And that could be a good piece of, like, helping understand, because they may not have family members that can support them. They may not have the resources to help educate them what to do after you had a total loss in your house, and now you've been given $1 million in payment. How do you go about that? Do you just go on vacations, or do you actually sit down and actually spend the money where you need to help kind of advocate and make sure just your spending is appropriate? We've had a lot of situations where people have been out of homes and they've been given money for their contents, and next thing you see is their just out lavishly living and flying here, doing that, and they run out of money and they go, what happened? I still need to buy clothes. I still need to buy all the personal property and the contents that I had. I went to Vegas for 2 months. I was gambling it away, hoping that I would get a bigger payout, right? So I think some of that education needs to be more hand-holding and not necessarily transactional.
And did you find though that being in your accident kind of helped you realize the situation that people are in when something like that happens to them? Because you're in the situation like I know the back end of the process, but now I'm at the front end, and like in that situation too, I'd be like, shit, I hit a deer. What what do I like? What happens? Like, what happens? Like, who do I call? Like, I call 911, but like, what happens to the deer?
Yeah. I mean, there's so many emotions running through your head, right? You're looking at your family, you're thinking about all these other pieces, right? And you're not really. I wasn't worried about the deer. And the interesting part was the bike was registered under my parents' house because when I had purchased it, I didn't want to put it under my house, so we put it there for other reasons. But so the police showed up to my parents' house and saying, "Hey, by the way," the next day they're like, "There's a deer in the yard, and the motorcycle that you own is hit a deer, and the homeowners woke up to a deer in their yard. Nobody notified us because I was just trying to get to the hospital and doing what's necessary and whatnot." But some of those things, and it was a shock and saying, wow, the police really does show up when a deer is just hanging out, right? And I think having been in the industry, I'm sure a lot of people can resonate with the fact that once they find out that you're in insurance, that you're in claim, everybody calls you and says, "Hey, I have a claim. What do I do?" And that kind of help prepare me as well in understanding all the different aspects of where there are gaps, right? Different carriers, different processes that exist. So I think every day I'm learning new things because people know I'm in claims and they're like, what do I do? How do I go about that? So seeing that lens of the consumer is very important.
Yeah. And like, I think we see it on the same time, good and bad on the lawyer side. And Jen's husband's a doctor too. Like, you get all sorts of weird questions too. Like, oh, you're a lawyer. So I'm like, I'm drafting my will. I'm like, I can't help you. I'm not the person to go to for that.
Well, my husband is a urologist, so I get all sorts of questions from people that I do not want to know about.
Love it.
Well, Awais, it's been awesome chatting with you. I think we could chat forever, especially when we start talking about AI. It's the hot topic right now.
Yes, yeah.
But one thing I ask everyone who comes on the show before I let them go is, knowing what you know now, what advice would you give your younger self?
I would say that don't limit yourself. Just go for different areas. If you're getting an opportunity in underwriting and claims and transformation and technology, whatever it is, like the industry is huge, but very small at the same time. And the more diverse background you have in the different things that you do, it'll help accelerate and kickstart your career in a different way, right? I mean, especially as we get into that phase of AI and, this whole technology modernization, advancement, not modernization, but more so advancement. You'll find that the more diverse your skill set is, the more value you'll add, the bigger your perspective, the more opportunity you're going to have, and understand how does underwriting work, even though you're in claim, right? There's always that segregation between underwriting and claims, and you kind of understanding the claim decisions you're making and how it's impacting the underwriting results, and how can you aid the underwriting departments and teams, and think about that, and always come up with a solution. Don't share problems, share solutions.
I mean, I would say for like attorneys, like understanding underwriting, just having an idea of what their purpose is helps us do our jobs too. And and we talk about it all the time on this program too, is from a practice perspective, especially for younger attorneys, understanding the claims side makes you a better attorney for the carriers, because you have a better idea what to give them, so they don't have to ask you extra questions, so they can do their job and provide their information to everybody else on their side. It's like such an important piece.
Yeah. No, 100%. No, I appreciate the opportunity. This was great. To your point, I think we could chat for a very long time on claims. The claims never sleep. That's right.
Yes, they never do. So, and tell us real quick. So, when approximately is your book coming out?
So the goal is to have it out next month.
Okay.
As I've just been on a traveling tour, so I think that's slowing down. Hopefully, coming soon, and we'll be able to release that. And I'll share the information with you all to kind of spread the word. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, so of course, for everyone listening, hopefully, maybe it will coincide with the release. If not, stay tuned. Yeah. And of course, if you like what you hear, thanks for tuning in for Claims Never Sleep. And you can find us on your favorite streaming platform as well as YouTube. Thanks for tuning in.
This is the Claims Never Sleep podcast, presented by Cruiser Mitchell, with your host, Megan Henry.